call the,
Okay, go ahead.
it is 3:15 Thursday, June 3rd, 2021, and I call the Board of Water Commissioners meeting to order. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Steve, are you here?
I think he dropped out.
Good, okay.
Yes.
Oh, he's back. There he is.
Okay, you're an aye. All right, please note
Yes.
that this meeting is early in June and it should have been in May. We have been a little behind. And we will be having another June, a regular June meeting later in the month. All right, financials, Don.
Hey, everyone. You guys should have received the May this morning. It's early in the month, but I wanted to at least give you some preliminary numbers so you can kind of see where we're at. We're looking in good shape. We're 102% of our overall budget collected at this point. The fourth quarter commitment was in line with last year. So if our actual June revenue is in line with last year, we should be looking at a year-end surplus in revenue of somewhere around 400,000, if not more. So that's really good news. You'll notice that in this month's report, I added the additional column for encumbrances, just so you can kind of see where our budget is compared to actuals and what we've encumbered for goods and services that have been either completed and just not been paid, or things like Woodard and Curran, where we put in a purchase order for the entire year. So the one thing that will differ from that compared to what Brenda provides you, Brenda provides you an update basically as she does things. So if the water department booked some work, she puts it in her spreadsheet. May not show up in my purchase order system for a week or so, or until she can get around to doing it. So there are sometimes a couple timing things. So with that being said, the spreadsheet I saw current, so as of today, still shows 225,000 available in expense. So I think with one more month left, I think we're really looking good. Especially, I think that includes purchase orders for our sludge removal. So all things considered, I think we'll be closing out fiscal 21 in great shape, and starting the retained earnings calculation next year with a great starting balance. As you're aware, town meeting, we did repurpose 450,000 for Elm Street out of retained earnings. So that's another line item you'll see in the budget where that transfer to stabilization or our transfer to capital increased from 300 to 750,000, and that's the reason for that, is because when that money was repurposed and approved at town meeting, that was essentially approved as of the date of town meeting. So posted that, and everything else is good. So I'd be happy to take any questions at this point.
I just had a question. Do the new rates go into effect July 1st?
I believe they should be in effect for our first quarter billing.
Working on it now, John.
Okay, thank you.
Just
Yeah,
to let you
good.
know, I sent the new rates to Danny, our programmer, and Jason and I have kind of been working on it together, because adding that third tiered rate changes the format of the bill a little bit. So we're working on tweaking it to make sure everything fits properly and looks okay. We started that Tuesday.
We're also going to take, I don't know if you guys care or not, but it says right now at the top of the bill, the big giant Cohasset Water logo. We're going to take that off because it's at times a water and sewer bill. So to get rid of some of the misconception that that's your water bill, we're just going to put the town seal and then a water and sewer bill at the top, not a big Cohasset Water Department logo.
Makes sense.
Okay, and this, you're working on putting the 10% increase in for sewer.
I do that manually myself. I just go into their rate and just change the dollar amount.
Oh, okay. And then it just comes up.
Yep.
All right, Don, just one quick question. For the town hydrant fee, was it off by $3,600? And that's why, yeah, okay. Just checking on that. And Brenda, your report was as of yesterday?
Today.
Today. Okay. Because it seems like we've been blowing through extraordinary maintenance. Hopefully we don't have anything big coming up.
Well, if you read my last email, Jason found $200,000 because there was an error with my program.
Oh,
So I was down to 25,000. I haven't let the guys buy a nut or a bolt in the past month because I've been afraid of going over budget. So when I sent that out, Jason came in and he goes, I think there's a program error
I stopped blowing my nose.
in our in our favor. So we both looked at it, and then I looked at Dawn's spreadsheet and I'm like, for some reason this year I added in a line for the what is it called?
The transfer for capital.
Yeah, the transfer for capital, which is like a wash. It should have never been in there, and it was only in one side and not the other. It's all fixed now. So the latest and greatest one you got shows we have over 225,000 in there. So I feel a lot better now. Thank you, Jason.
that's good. Okay, do we have any other questions for Don?
I have no other question. Good catch. The 200,000.
That always helps. Okay, thank you, Don.
All right, have a good afternoon.
You
too.
too.
Right, Don?
Okay, now town meeting update. So our rate study did pass and it went by without a hitch. We had Jason do his little slideshow. And I was really surprised that nobody said anything. And we got a unanimous vote compared to sewer. So we should be happy about that because some people voted against the sewer increase. But there was just one thing that I want to bring up today. Remember when we had that joint meeting with advisory for the rate study? And Don came in and at the end of the meeting and presented a number that was way off for what the schools would be having to pay. He was off by like 300%. And it forced us to go into, Steve and I, to vote that would kind of tie our hands for the next 5 years. I just think at this point, we should have a motion because that vote was on faulty, incorrect information given at the last minute, that we should rescind that vote because it really had nothing to do with anything. And in case a subsequent water commission wants to do anything, they won't have their hands tied.
I don't think we can because advisory voted based upon that vote. And their vote was in the warrant. And so that was represented to the people at town meeting that it was approved by selectmen and advisory.
Yes, but John, advisory also got the wrong information and it was corrected to advisory afterwards. If advisory had the correct information, I don't think they would have voted, would have said, hey, we can't approve it because of this.
We
When
don't know that.
given information 300% more than what the actual numbers were. I just don't feel comfortable that we were forced into doing this, basically manipulated at the last minute without any type of backup information.
Jason,
Yep.
is it just kind of going on top of what Lee is saying? Is it, or John, whoever can answer this question? If say if you can rescind the vote,
You can't rescind a vote, you revote.
you the
Can't
revote, right?
rescind a vote,
Because
you
the
revote.
so let's just go call it revote. So if we revote on, because
It would then have to go to town meeting to get approved.
What would have to go to town meeting? The whole rate study?
the adding the rate to the municipal buildings.
They have to go before the selectmen again and the advisory again.
Would it have to? Because when we took the rate off, it didn't go before everybody.
What it went to town meeting, so voted. So the town meeting is the authority to setting the rates, so you'd have to go back to, I mean, we could go to town council and ask the question. But I think that the bylaws state that town meeting sets the rate. So if they were presented a rate that was municipal buildings as tier 1 only, then they voted that, they didn't vote something else. So you'd have to go there.
No, well, I was thinking that we could re-vote now so that we are open to being able to go to town meeting in a subsequent year.
Yeah, it's as I said, you can re-vote and then we go back to town meeting in the
Yes.
spring
Yeah.
and request that. 1000%, you can do that. That's doable. But
Yeah,
you're-
no, that's basically what I'm discussing is so that subsequent boards do not have their hands tied because of the way the vote was taken.
Because we could,
That
we,
we
you
could-
could,
Subsequent boards won't have their hands tied. Any subsequent board can revote anytime.
the same way you guys voted to put on the second tier that had been subsequently voted to be removed. It's the same thing. It was originally, according to, I think you said that, Lee, that previously the town buildings had a second tier and one board voted to remove the second tier. You voted to put it back. So somebody else, then you voted to take it off based on the information that I actually calculated by mistake. And John said it, I calculated it. I mean, it is what it is. So it's out there.
It is, I
Um,
mean, it
But I
kind
was
of-
working off a number. You told me it was $50,000. So when I got 60, I thought it was okay. I made a
no, well,
mistake.
I said back
I
then,
found you $200,000 with Brenda's mistake. I'm not perfect.
what you do, no, but what I'm saying is back then there were issues in the school where I was aware of what the water usage was. And it was due to, let's say, some student shenanigans increasing the water usage, and the schools were very upset.
So suffice it to say, you can vote it at any time. It needs to then go to town meeting to get approved. So you can vote today to put an article at the next town meeting to increase the rate on the municipal buildings to tier 2. And we'll work on an article accordingly.
So you could do that vote anytime. It really doesn't matter if you do it now, tomorrow, next week, or the months to follow, correct?
I mean, it has to be done before town meeting. Before articles are needed, that's when you do it. So when the warrant opens again, you would apply for that.
In article time is what, like first week in February?
It's October for fall town meeting and January for spring town meeting.
I would suggest that we wait and then we get numbers for the impact on the various buildings, so we know exactly what we're voting on at that time.
Actually, I had one thought that just really kind of popped in my head. Let's see how the next flow of income comes in with the new rates. There might be a chance, there could be a slight chance that we might have to go back maybe to town meeting for a rate adjustment. There could be a possibility, right? So,
I mean,
Yeah,
I
good.
think at this point, we're gonna live within our means. I don't think we're going back. If the rates don't come out where they are, I think we just adjust capital spending and or annual spending on extraordinary system maintenance and system maintenance, dam maintenance to balance the budget. I don't think we're going, I don't think you go back within the 5 years to adjust the rate on regular people.
I agree.
yeah.
But if your tier 3 does not work out as projected, and we are
Our tier 3, not my.
Your and
ours.
Don's three, yes. does not-
Everybody's. This is a global effort.
You know, Jason finishes it. He is right. It's our, because we all had a hand in it. Technically.
I mean, it came from the rate, it came from Ty and Bond, so technically it's theirs. I then massaged it, but
Mhm.
it wasn't, I did not create this, so we'll see where the numbers come in next year.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see what our first billing period is.
100%. Brenda and I said that today, that the first two bills are gonna tell us everything about the rate increase.
So we'll know within 6 months if we have to go back to town meeting for. So do we have to go back to town meeting for an adjustment if something wasn't working out?
We
Yes,
do.
but I think, like I said, Steve, you're not gonna do that. I mean, you'll just adjust capital. I mean, you'd be.
Just-
it
Yeah,
would
you
be-
just kind of let things fall apart like they were 10 years ago.
I mean, Lee, if you want to, that's up to you guys. I think that's suicide. to go-
I agree with Jason. I think we're gonna look completely incompetent if we go back right away and say, oh, everything we did, we were wrong. But we do need, if we need the money, we have to just go and do that. But I don't think it's something we do lightly.
No.
See, but the whole thing was, you were kind of put in a position at the very end, right before we went to town meeting, with Corey coming up with
Yeah.
the businesses shouldn't be charged, and then all of a sudden the apartments shouldn't be charged. So we're looking at a decrease in income that was projected all along during the rate study.
Agreed.
With the increase that was suggested by putting the town in tier 2, that was thrown out because, it was based on wrong numbers that were miscalculated. So this doesn't kind of feel too good to me where, well, we made a mistake here, there's a mistake there, so, oh, well, whatever. That's how I
said,
feel.
I said I made one mistake. I calculated a number wrong in one day. And I came up with a number that was pretty darn close to the number you said at the meeting previous today. So I made one mistake. I didn't say I made a whole bunch of mistakes. Thank you very much.
No, it's fine. Listen. Me personally, I was just asking a question. Like, if I've been through a rate study where it didn't work out. I mean, I've lived through it. I just wanted, like, if something didn't calculate, you have to go back to town meeting regardless. That was kind of my question.
Yeah, but it
Anyway,
would have to be a big miss.
Yeah, you have to be pretty
Big.
big. Okay, no, I was just curious. I was just asking the question because I did not know the answer.
Okay, well, let's move on. Do we have anything on the Wolf Pit possibility for solar update?
The solar update in general was when I talked to people at large and they heard that we were going to cut trees down even here. Everybody was shocked that there was tree removal. They thought we were just doing solar in already cleared areas. I'm like, no, we're cutting down trees. So people were like, well, that's not environmentally friendly. And I said, this wasn't my idea. This was Tanya's. So I am going to continue to pursue it with Tanya and Steve to determine if it's viable either here or the Wolf Pit. And then let Tanya run with it as far as getting it approved environmentally, because I personally agree with people that it's going to be a heavy lift to get a whole bunch of trees cleared to put solar in, because the people that it's two groups that are believing the same thing fighting against each other, and I don't want to be in the middle of that, and I don't think you guys do either.
I agree.
Let Tanya fight the fight if we decide it's viable.
But I don't know.
I'm
Look
sorry.
at, you what?
I was just gonna say, if we'd have to analyze tree removal costs and whether it made economic sense at that point.
Yeah,
I mean, is
so-
the water department paying for tree removal or?
no, the solar company would. So
Okay,
as part of that too, the current conservation agent, interim, is a wetland scientist. So he came out and flagged all the wetlands here on site for free. Or at his hourly rate to the town in during his normal business hours here. So now we have all the wetlands flagged. So I'm gonna get those surveyed in to determine what the extent of the area we could put solar panels are and or lagoons. So that happened last week or this week. He came and flagged all the wetlands here for us.
Okay, but we can't forget that when the new Osgood School was built, they totally clear cut the animal trail from Beechwood down to the ocean. So they took every single tree out. So, you have the people who either want something or they don't. And then also you take a look at what happened at the reservoir, how that was clear cut by the residents there, and that didn't have a problem when they took down the trees on the town land. So you might have some groups who feel that the solar array is more important at this point in time. But didn't that article at town meeting get indefinitely postponed?
Yes, did.
So that has to come back again?
If we decide to move forward, it would have to come back to town meeting again. Unless we did a self-install ourselves and didn't lease.
And then we're looking at what? How much money?
I don't know. Talk to Steve about it.
And
Okay.
a lot of money. A lot of money.
A lot of money. Yeah, we don't want to do that. Okay, the CIP and capacity analysis, do we have any updates on that?
We have the draft CIP report in hand. Everybody is currently reviewing it. We're expecting comments from everybody back within a week. And then we'll provide those to Tetra Tech to finalize the report and present to you guys.
Okay, so that would mean that we might be looking at our next meeting towards the end of the month, so we could get that report.
Yes. And I think I'm gonna still plan to have them come and do interim presentations to you guys, like sections at a time. So it's not like a 2-hour long meeting about the report that might be painful, but do kind of a meeting about the condition and then a meeting about the recommendations separately, potentially, depending upon how long the presentation might be.
Okay, any questions?
No
Comments?
questions. No questions.
Okay, the GAC.
The GAC at the plant, we have the draft report for that as well. There's one piece that was of concern on O&M costs that we have kicked back to Tetra Tech for a response. We should be finalizing that within a week or two.
Okay, I have a question now. You're working with Fred on algae in the pond,
Yep,
and that is what is possibly causing a high organic.
it would potentially increase organic levels, yes.
All right, and if that is taken care of and reduce the organic levels, doesn't that reduce the TTHM?
Yep. And that was what, when I mentioned that in capital budget, that was why Ralph was potentially a no vote for GAC, because he wanted us to do further investigations of the pond itself before
Mm-hmm.
we move forward with GAC.
Is there added cost for chemicals to treat it in the plant?
No, we treat the pond itself.
Oh,
The copper sulfate treat the pond.
okay.
Are they still using that?
If you get it permitted,
Gee, we used it up the pond here for years.
you gotta do it
we
very
put-
carefully, or you have a big pile of dead fish.
No, they put the fish in up in Maine.
I don't know
And
yet.
that took care of a lot of the algae.
I have never copper sulfated. Fred has, and he said, yeah, if you screw it up, you'll know it real fast.
Does the fish help with the algae if you add more fish? Out of curiosity.
From what I hear, the fish are huge in this pond. I don't think we need to add any fish.
I know, we could catch one every 2 seconds with bread. It's amazing.
Who are you, little rascals?
Yeah, it's old school.
Yeah, no, but up in Maine, since they started putting the fish in, it's incredible what's happened with the ponds. We don't have, we used to look like pea soup here. And now it's clear. Maybe it's the type of fish we're using in Cohasset.
Well, we're not stocking the pond. It's just whatever's naturally here.
I don't know. All right.
I'm fishing bass.
We're going to just wait and see about this. Now, if our levels aren't where they're critical, we're not in a big rush to install, or we're still in a big rush to install no matter what, even though our PFAS is low.
I think given the state of political climate right now, I would not stop the PFAS. I mean, the GAC here, I would push forward and see where we can get it as far as SRF funding at the state level this year. As you see all the stuff on stimulus, any stimulus sent down to the states for water infrastructure will go through the SRF program. It's the only funding mechanism on the state level for that money. And that's why I've been pushing that since we started the discussions of applying for SRF funding in August.
Do you know how many other facilities are looking at doing this in the state?
No idea.
Oh, keep pushing forward, right?
Because unfortunately, it seems that we end up at the bottom of the list for most of these grants.
Well, we got the grant, so we're not at the bottom of the list. We got $180,000.
Yeah,
So
I'm talking about some other ones with the dam stuff. Okay, now Elms Meadow, what's happening with that grant?
we are currently still piloting there at the lab. There was some issues with the startup of the piloting, but they have started the piloting, as well as have started preliminary design of a proposed treatment plant there. We still don't have PFAS numbers back as to what actual PFAS level in the water is that we sent them.
Wow. So that means we don't have anything from 3A either, from the pumping station, because weren't we going to be testing PFAS there?
No. And we were going to test THMs.
THMs. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Do we have that number?
I don't think so. I'd have to ask Carl. Carl would know. Carl, did you get the results back from that sample at the booster
No,
station?
I haven't seen anything on it.
Has anybody heard anything about what they're doing in Hingham with their water tank?
I have heard nothing.
I'll find out next week when I join, when they had the first committee meeting.
Because I know they've been having articles coming out about the problems with communities with water tanks that have not been maintained. And I don't think that one's been maintained in how many years?
No idea.
No, I know. It's kind of crazy. Okay. Now, if we have to go through the end of June to finish this pilot, is there a problem? Because I thought it had to be done by June.
I
Did we get,
haven't crossed that bridge yet.
okay, because I didn't know if the state started making some noise about extensions.
They have not.
Oh, okay. Because they were slow in giving out the grants.
Yeah.
Sampling.
So we actually have a summer intern for Public Works doing outfall sampling for us. So I actually had him out yesterday, clearing out the Route 3A locations by the Pond Street and 3A intersection, so we can sample those. We were going to sample them. We're waiting now for what's called quote unquote dry weather conditions, which is 72 hours after a rainfall event, and oddly enough, we've been getting rain. So hopefully this coming Monday, we'll be able to get a dry weather sample out there now that we've cleared out those sites with the intern.
Okay, are we also testing right there next to Cohasset Imports?
We're gonna sample along that, yes, in that
Yes.
area. So he's going out on, so basically he goes on a every day he goes out and locates additional outfall locations, clears them out. So that is on his list to do this week, is those there. They're not that those ones aren't, those ones aren't significantly overgrown, but yes, he will be out maintaining those ones too and inspecting them.
Have we heard any more about the date for them going, Cohasset Imports going before ZBA?
No. I know that they have been told they need to, but I don't think a application has been submitted.
Because I just keep seeing more and more auto repair activity going there.
Yeah.
Which I think, I don't know how the town is letting that happen, but.
So what they're saying is they were permitted for 2 lifts and they took 1 lift out of the main building and put that lift in the secondary building. So they haven't increased the use. They've just shifted where the use is on the site. That's the claim.
Yeah, gee whiz, but the use is right there on the watershed. And that is the prohibited use on a watershed. I don't know. Hey, whatever. What about the boat?
We are going to, now that we have money.
You mean it's 100,000? Getting
uh,
a cruiser now.
So we would like to get a small flat bottom boat with a trolling motor to go out and sample for algae and other contaminants in the pond, both here and at Iron River. If you guys are okay with that.
Are you looking at aluminum?
Probably plastic.
No.
Aluminum, every aluminum one I looked at was too much money.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to stay like in the $1,000 to $1,200 range all in.
I'm
You know, I
okay
could
with
try to
it.
get a Boston Whaler.
Wow, you got one I can use, Steve?
I wish. I had one when I was like, we were younger.
No, I was on like West
Yeah, if
Marine
you-
today. So
Right.
West Marine has like a small fiberglass boat with so we could do it with kayaks, but I'm just worried about liability if somebody were to go out in a kayak and tip over with samples and whatnot. I just that was my concern.
Totally agree.
Being a town. I mean, if I was doing it as a private company, yeah, I'd go out in a kayak because I wouldn't care. But as a town, it's a little bit more liability concern.
I
So
agree
would
with
the
that.
boat accommodate 2?
Yep, it will accommodate 3 technically.
3? Ooh. We could have a meeting out on the boat.
We can all go out to the big rock in the middle of the pond and have a meeting.
All
Yeah.
right.
Okay. How's Elm Street coming along?
Elm Street, we got the final plans for sewer. So we're gonna be going out officially on the street next week.
What does that mean? You're going to start the work?
No, out to bid next week.
Oh, out to bid. Oh, I'm sorry. And then when are we expecting to start?
So it would be out to bid for a month, and then another, so probably a month and a half. So if we're June,
We're
probably
looking
be
for
mid-July,
probably-
mid-July.
You think that, I don't know, I'm wondering how contractors are doing these days.
Everybody you talk to is different. You got some people that are dying for work and other people that you can't get material. It's people are saying though that I was talking to some contractors today on a project in town, construction, and they said it's actually getting a little bit better. It's getting closer to people can build again. it was Pleasant Street guy. He said, you know, we're very close to the point of this being affordable again.
Now, what about pipe stock? Is
Ductile is not an issue at this point in time.
because I don't know what the supply chain is like. Anybody else have any questions about Elm Street?
No,
Nope, he went over them pretty good.
Okay, fencing.
A fence, all the posts are in. We are just waiting for the mesh to be delivered to his site. He orders mesh every week and he usually gets a small amount every week. We have about 350 feet of fencing here and he has 50 feet so far. He's hoping that he gets it in this Friday. The mesh. So
Yeah.
all he's waiting for is the actual black mesh.
How about the traffic going by the plant? Has that increased with the summer weather?
What do you mean?
Or have people decided that
I
they're
haven't
not
seen anybody. No one comes here anymore, realistically.
really good?
I think that the temporary fence made a huge statement, I think, and people have come to grips with it.
Okay, and you were talking about putting a new handicapped entrance in the front.
Yeah, so due to the fact the fence is up now and also just in general, this building isn't accessible, handicap accessible. So I'm gonna work with IREA to get a price to make the front door accessible. So basically to drop the curb down and make a ramp to make the front door an accessible entrance to the building, so that it's then a publicly accessible building again. It's quote unquote been a publicly accessible building, but it's really not. I mean, the back door, you have to drive around and somebody has to go back and open the door for you to come in. It doesn't meet the sniff test of being a public building, or public accessible building.
You know, I'm
So, I
surprised
mean,
that facilities hasn't said anything to us about it for years.
Because it was always a previous water commissioner put the sign up that says drive around back for the handicap entrance, and the handicap entrance thing on the back door. No one questioned it. It's, when we went and modified the front door for code compliant, I mean, the front door wasn't code compliant. I mean, it was not fireproof. So when we made that modification with the COVID money, it came to light that it was, you know, we need to do something about it. The CIP mentioned it too, that we're non-code compliant as far as handicap accessibility. So we are going to get a price now that we have money. And I'm not saying we're spending that, Brenda, by the way. I'm just getting a quote. Like I told her, I'm going to get a quote and see what they comes in at and see where we are at the end of the year.
Do we have to get one of those automatic opening doors?
Potentially in the long run, but at least if you have a ramp, then you can say somebody can open the door and get you in. Right now, you literally can't get in the building. I mean, somebody would have to get you over a 6-inch curb and in. It's just, yes, eventually we would probably put in an automatic opening door too. But
good. So Jason, you're looking at just taking down the curb and making a small ramp there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That
so
shouldn't be
nothing
very
major.
expensive.
Yeah, it shouldn't
Yeah.
be huge. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be fairly decent price, like 5 to 10 grand.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
If it's not, we won't do it.
We'll go out there ourselves and play concrete.
Yeah.
Sludge, how's that coming?
I'll leave it to Carl.
Sludge. I'm estimating we're probably close to halfway through the basin as far as disposal. We can only dispose of 2 truckloads a day at Bourne. And when I initially talked with them, they said 1 to 2, but they have been accepting 2 and they've been good about it. Jason has been looking for a potential second location where we could dispose of, so we're still working on that. Right now, I would say we are Probably looking at having the basin empty 2 weeks from tomorrow, weather permitting, and be setting the next bag.
Okay, I noticed on Brenda's spreadsheet that we were way over on our sludge line. So how much more is it going to cost to get the basin emptied? How is that going to impact us?
Those numbers are estimates in there. They're not actual bills.
Oh, okay. Now, is that just for as much as we've done, or is that for the entire basin removal?
Entire. So there's
Okay.
one line item, if you click on the sludge tab, you'll see that there's a dollar amount in there for Whitney Trucking, and then there's one for the town of Bourne. And they're both estimates.
Okay,
So the cost per ton going to Bourne is 146. Last year and the year before, when we used Saybrook, it was 137 a ton. And then prior to that, the price was much more reasonable.
well, and so it's going a shorter distance and it's costing more?
Prices are up, yes.
Well, with the fuel costs up too. The trucking costs are up.
Yeah, it's it's a big expense.
You have to be myself and look.
Yeah, it is.
Don't mute. Come on. We want to hear your kids in the background.
Do you,
Sorry.
yeah,
Hey, Steve, I lived the life. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
We've all been there.
I know. I try to hit the mute button pretty quick.
now, do you think we'll be able to get through the next 12 months without having to dispose again?
No,
No?
no, we're disposing in March next year.
Yes, that's yeah, Jason is certainly correct there, yeah. That's the goal, is to dispose of it immediately after winter. To let it go through a freeze cycle and then dispose of it.
Okay, now why is the short window?
Because the idea is, so you get the freeze thaw. We had this discussion yesterday. You have a freeze thaw and it turns to coffee grinds, right? And I can show you because I did it at my house. I took some sludge home to put around my garden and I took it, stuck it in the freezer, took it out and melted it and it turns into coffee grinds. So,
Yes, I've seen grounds.
so the idea is if you let it freeze thaw through the winter, it turns into coffee grinds. But then if you process more sludge on top of it, you've then took your coffee grinds and mixed them with a bunch of sludge. So you kind of
Make
defeat,
it into mush.
you defeat the purpose. So
Okay,
that's the idea, is to, as soon as we get through the freeze thaw cycle, you cut the bag open and get rid of it. We're
okay,
also gonna work too, once we empty the basin out, to try and improve the under drain system to help the dewatering process as well. That will hopefully help the freeze thaw cycle work better as well.
yeah, because a couple years ago, we were going like almost 18 months.
Yeah.
With sludge
In
removal.
the past, yes, we were going 2 years, but last year with the COVID, the pumping here at the plant was up by 10 to 15%, and this year without Elms Meadow, it's probably going to be 15 or 20%. So
Yeah.
it's that much more sludge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is it. That's going to be a big hit on us if we can't get Elms Meadow back online. I think that was saving us for the last 6 years, giving us that little extra change.
No question, it was a help, yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
for Elms
So-
Meadow, if we have a dry summer, what's stopping us really from putting it on besides PFAS numbers?
Right now,
Yeah.
PFAS.
It's PFAS.
I know. I just, if we get into those dry, if they're predicting a really dry summer this year, so kind of wondering if we get into a bind, what are we gonna do?
We could go to DEP and ask permission to turn it back on, but then we run the risk of being in violation, and if you exceed the 20 parts per trillion, 3 months running, it becomes a more serious offense.
Yeah.
It requires public notification, within 30 days that you violated the MCL.
Gotcha.
So.
In the
you
end,
know,
Steve, you just put water restrictions in place if you had to.
And I see a lot of towns starting to put their water restrictions up right now.
Oh, they do.
The
They-
Rockland has a full restriction right now.
Hingham's restricted, odds and even, I think I saw.
Yeah, they just started too. So I was just curious. That's all. What's the steps you have to go through if you had to get it on? But
I would recommend doing water restrictions before I turned on Elms Meadow.
But everything still is hinging on what these test results are.
But I mean, even if that's up to Carl. I mean, I would hesitate to turn that well. If Tetra Tech gets results of 8 on the PFAS at this pilot, I still would hesitate to turn it on, because if you have 2 consecutive high numbers, you're notifying the public that don't drink the water.
It's strictly a gamble to do that.
yeah,
And I mean, that's up to you guys to decide as a board. I mean, it's just you're really rolling the dice of, if you get two over 20, you're done and you're notifying.
Now,
one
are
over
you
20.
talking about 2 now over 20, or counting the one we had over 20?
Is it 2 consecutive, Carl?
It's 3, but I don't know how DEP would look at it, seeing that we had the 1. So I think it would start the clock again for the quarter.
Well, we didn't take a
I
repeat,
believe it would be 3.
but we didn't take the repeat either. We got the 20 and then we didn't take the confirmatory, which is usually the second of 3.
Correct.
I don't know how to deal with that either.
Now, what does that mean exactly? Can you?
So
Allow-
usually, like when we had the first issue, before they changed the calculation, we had 21 or whatever it was. Then Carl resampled immediately and to take a confirmatory sample. We didn't take the confirmatory sample because we immediately shut the well down.
Well, the regulation is such that you would have to take 3 samples for the 3-month quarter and then average those. There is no repeat after your initial sampling. So we went through the initial sampling. We were less than 20, so we were okay. You can't do that every time.
Yeah, so if we had 3 samples in a quarter, if 2 were high, then you averaging out to be lower.
You're averaging the 3, yes.
So just excuse my ignorance, because I'm not you guys, but so no matter what the results are at the actual well, and it's not the results actually where the water blends with the system, that wouldn't matter.
It's the first customer would be right there out the well.
It's
Well
the water
pumped.
going out of the wells.
I mean, it's the water going out of the wells because the first
Gotcha.
customer gets that water. So they don't get blended water at the house across the street from the well field. They get Elms Meadow water.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, sorry. Like I said, dumb question, but okay, I got you now. I just wanted to put that out there. I was just more curious. That's all.
John, did you have a question?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Oh, I thought I saw your hand up.
Oh, I was waving goodbye to somebody.
Oh.
Thanks.
Okay, yeah, I know this is really a sticky situation for us because we're not going to have the loan paid off on Elms Meadow until 2025. Yeah, so that really puts us in a bad situation, but what can we do? Now, if this new test comes back, the last test when we were high, was that during wet weather or dry? I thought it was wet.
I think it was wet in January.
I'd have to look back at the rainfall.
I kind of
Right.
remember that it was wet.
It was not dry. I do recall that.
I believe I have to check the numbers again, Lee. I did review that and I will re-pull that data. When we did the pilot study sample, I believe the water elevation was fairly close to the level it was in January when we had the hit.
Mhm.
So it's in the same range of where the height elevation of the water was. So when the water was lower is when the PFAS levels were lower, just generically speaking. I mean, from what we saw during the testing we did. But it was up in January and it was still up when we did the sample. Whenever we did the sample, I can't even remember. March.
Well, we also have the situation where we don't know whether or not the state is going to be suddenly changing criteria and adding more chemicals to it. That's always an issue that we have to think about.
I think the state's gonna have a big issue with the number of people that are gonna be dealing with this issue.
Yeah,
If
why,
I think if they start adding more, people are just gonna not care. Like, it's really becoming an issue in the state. Like, there's a task force now on the state level that's been formed with water suppliers, legislatures, and environmental people to discuss this and necessary funding associated with it due to the extent that it's happening.
I know, just reading about the towns that are well fields that are highly impacted.
Yep.
Oh, well. Hopefully something will come along. Now, with the pilot study, are they just doing GAC or they doing
Resin
it
too.
resin?
Yeah.
Because isn't that what, I thought I remembered Hingham said that they were using that at one point.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Okay, do we have any other issues that are coming up that we need to discuss that we missed? We're just waiting on things moving along.
Yeah, I just will know, I know Lee said you want to have a meeting the end of June. I
Well,
go with,
Because of the test results coming in,
right,
analysis. I
I'm
think-
away for a week starting June 26th.
I'm
You're
away the same time, so
Okay,
I'm not zooming in for, my
Yeah.
one vacation of the year. I'm
Right.
off from the 27th through the 6th, so,
okay.
don't
The
be
last
looking
week
for me.
of June is not a good week. The week before that.
Okay. I'm around that week.
Yeah, that's good for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, that probably would be best.
Yeah, no, I'm
Just-
just saying, cause as soon as you say, I didn't think of it till John said it. I'm
Yeah.
so, like, the one vacation I missed last year, we're doing it this year.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Eric?
typically, I'd like to have a meeting towards the end of June so that we can just see exactly where we are financially. So we'll just pick a date sometime on that week if Brenda can send out feelers. So it would be what around. Let me take a look. And I am not going to touch anything because I realize that Google has this vendetta against me since I turned off my location and they can't tell me where I ate and show me the meals I had with my grandchildren. Every time I calendar, they go crazy. Okay, yeah, so we're looking the week of the 21st.
Yeah,
And
Good
we
luck.
should really able to catch up on loose ends.
good
You
luck
think
on
it-
Saturday, Lee. I think your chances are exceptionally good.
Well, you never know. In there.
Well, I heard unknown is very tough this year, so
It's-
a lot of stiff competition.
Oh, boy, yeah, I wonder what's gonna be happening with the selectmen's race too. Boy, that's, things are really moving in this town.
The battle.
Absolutely. Okay, well, if there's nothing else that we have to discuss. It's 4:10 and I make a motion to adjourn our meeting of June 3rd. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
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 That was unanimous with all three of us voting aye. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.